Welcome to Fintech Daydreaming, the podcast that dives into the world of banking technologies and the ever-changing landscape of fintech companies. We bring you real-life examples from global and local thought leaders, as well as experts working within the financial industry, and seek out the best stories from the front lines of financial services innovation, where dreams of industry pioneers meet reality. Hosted by Paul Krogdahl and Ville Sontu. This is Fintech Daydreaming.
Welcome back, everybody, to yet another fantastic episode of Fintech Daydreaming. The summer is fast approaching. We will be taking a well-deserved break quite soon, but Ville and I will keep going for at least one or two more episodes. And this one here is a blast, I guarantee. So if you're missing this one, shame on you. We're going to have a great episode. I'm Paul Krogdahl, as always. I've never changed my name, probably never will change my name. And I think I'm probably getting to a point where I don't have to introduce myself anymore, but I will introduce my wingman, my best friend, my comrade in fintech, Ville, who without him, I just could not do this. So Ville, how are you on this beautiful sunny day?
I'm good. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you will notice that summer is here because my face is all red. I actually went for a nice long walk yesterday and forgot that the Finnish summer can actually burn your skin. So anyway, I will recover. I will be using sunscreen from here on out. So I hopefully it will be better. But yeah, I'll take it as a positive. You know, burning in the Finnish sun is not something you can do every time, all the time in the year. So let's enjoy while it lasts.
And you're sure it's because of the sun and not too much alcohol or just pure embarrassment?
Well, based on how much it hurts when I touch, I think it is the sun.
Okay, fine. I'll take it this time. Let's see if your face is still as red on the next episode or not. But for this episode, I am honored and really excited to be welcoming to join us Monika Liikamaa, who is the co-founder and co-CEO at Enfuce. And unless you've been hiding under a rock, I am sure everyone out there is familiar with Enfuce as a fintech, as a payments or cards superficiado, and really driving an awful lot of fantastic innovation and disruption in the card space. But Monika, we are really excited to have you here with us today. But for those one or two few people who have been hiding under a rock or maybe have joined us and know nothing about fintech, why don't you introduce yourself and let the people out there know who you are and what your superpower is?
Yeah, thank you for the not so short introduction, and happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to this. Well, Monika Liikamaa, as you said, co-founder, co-CEO of Enfuce. Enfuce was founded almost 8 years ago to disrupt and change the game. I used to be a banker myself and pretty fed up with everything in new product launches, especially in the card processing, card side, taking way too long and being like horrifically expensive, which of course also meant that there was no room for trying out stuff. And that's when I decided, like, this can't be rocket science. I better fucking do it myself. Called my co-founder to be former colleague Denise and asked her the question, should we? She just said yes. Then she asked what, and then I said, shouldn't we just build a processor that does things better, faster, and globally scalable? And those three requirements became Enfuce. And with those requirements, we were also the first one in the world to put the issuing of money, so the processing and issuing, in a public cloud, because, you know, broke as fuck, didn't have any money, needed to scale globally, needed to build an infrastructure that is high available and globally scalable. Then having own data center wouldn't be the option. And that's how it started. Yeah, we've grown a lot. We do exactly the same. There's a lot of fintechs or startups who always talk about pivoting. And pivoting is like you have an idea, you start doing it, then you realize it's not maybe working as well as needed, or an opportunity passes by, you grab it, and then suddenly find yourself doing something else. We've never done that. We do exactly the same that we did from that phone call. The only difference is we do more of it. So we've scaled both geography-wise, customer segment-wise, capability-wise, but in the end of the day, we are focusing on enabling real-time card rail payments, whether it be open loop like Visa, MasterCard, or then even closed loop when it comes to the fleet and fuel industry. So that's in short who Enfuce is and who I am. Yeah, that's the short, not so short answer.
That's a quick clarifying question. So what is your main market areas? I mean, European Union, are you global? And who would you say are your main peers or competitors in this space? Just so that the audience will get a picture of a little bit where Enfuce sits in this beautiful fintech ecosystem.
Yes. So home market for us is the Nordics. I think it's a beautiful thing to be born out of the Nordics because of the compliance aspect we have and the trust, etc. But also the fun fact that we have 4 or 5 different currencies, different legislations when it comes to repaying debt, etc. So like when the first customer we went live with ST1 and we enabled them to issue a revolving credit in 3 countries, 3 currencies, 2 time zones. So it's an amazing place to be born out of the Nordics because of these challenges. Then, of course, once done right, enable you to scale. So what we've done now is that from a processing perspective, we are connected to both Visa and MasterCard schemes, and we can process globally. We have customers today where we have in Middle East, in Europe, UK, and hopefully by end of this year in LATAM. But then if you look at adding more capabilities to service the so-called non-banks, the ones who don't have the license themselves, but also remembering that we have actual banks that we are the issuer for. I'll come back to that later. Is that we are really focused now on nailing the European market, so EEA and UK, as we are licensed as an EMI in both UK and in EEA passported.
One of the things that we tend to forget, Villa and I, as we're doing these episodes, is we can at times get quite excited about getting into details and therefore suffer from the curse of knowledge. We work in this industry all the time, and we know most of our listeners are interested in fintech banking technology. But when we also look at the breadth of people who work in this domain, they tend to be very sort of siloed, very vertical, and maybe don't necessarily understand everything across the board. One of the things that I end up getting into discussions about quite often is, well, what's the difference between cards and general payments? They're the same, aren't they? And maybe this is a great example here where, you know, Enfuce is focused on the card rails. But maybe very quickly from your perspective, Monika, how do we differentiate cards from payments?
Yeah, and I think I'll answer also the other question, part 2 of the Ville's question in answering it, hopefully, like who are our customers and what do we do? So there are different type of players, as we all know, and they do different kind of services. And payments is a means to get paid, pretty much. So anything and everything in the world, there is no such thing as free lunch. So if we go into the lunch segment, we have customers like Epath in Sweden, where we are the issuer of their card. So they have a lot of closed loop, so they are connected to the merchants, and with the app in Finland, for example, you can buy and pay stuff. But in Sweden, they also wanted to add on Apple Pay capabilities. And when you add Apple Pay capabilities, you come into the world of card rails and payment rails. Then we have customers that are banks. So the debit side. So when you as a human being have money, whether you're a corporate or a consumer, you will have money in a bank. Then it's called a debit account, and that often resides in a bank ledger. And that bank ledger, in order to be able to be used 24/7 anywhere, often requires a card. So we talk a lot about account to account. That's when you pay from a bank account to a bank account. But when you want to buy at e-com sites or merchants or point of sale, so like brick and mortar store or whatever, then you often require a card. card doesn't have to be physical. It can be a physical plastic. It can be Apple Pay or Google Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever, Garmin Pay, doesn't care. It is a device to access an account. So we have customers like Alisa Pankki in Finland, Kvika Bank in Iceland, the Memo Bank in France, that are actual banks, and they have the ledger where the money resides, but we do the card. So they do a debit card, for example. Those are through us. Then we have customers like Pleo, Devoy, Mynt, who are expense management companies. Their core business is really to enable a service where you can do expense management, and then they need a card so you can actually buy stuff. So again, we are the processor of that card. At some point, we are the issuer of that card as well. So there's a lot of different types of card. And of course, the fleet and fuel industry, who is now transitioning from fossil into other forms, are something that we work a lot with, like OKQ8, ST1, also now looking into EV charging. We have a lot of different players in the mobility side. So anywhere and everywhere where cards are used, and I think currently card rails are the only globally accepted 24/7 working ways of paying stuff.
And let me kind of double down on that question a little bit. So Paul asked about cards versus payments. And what about the local schemes here in the Nordics? So you mentioned already that you are connected to Visa and MasterCard, but especially now in context of the Nordics, we still have local card schemes in many of the Nordic countries. They seem to be similar products to Visas and MasterCards, yet they are not. So what's your perspective into this Nordic landscape of fragmentation? And do you see these local schemes as something that you will support in the future, or is it something that will leave in the past soon?
That's a good question. If someone puts enough money on the table to me to support the local, I probably would. But Enfuce was born to serve global. Nordics, the whole like P27 thing, it's like I am saddened and ashamed that the Nordics suck so much at collaboration, and I blame the banks, Ville. So it's just poor fucking work. It's like it's a shit show. So the answer is probably no. I won't be. It's fucking not like it's a waste of effort. Look at P27. Like what a joke. And it's not the idea. There's nothing wrong with the idea. And I think, for example, that mobile pay is really an easy way. But for me, I built mobile pay already when I built S-Bank back in 2007. So my kids and now I'm a Nordea user a lot, and my children had that. So that's something that is easy also. But I think in the Nordics, our biggest problem is that we think we compete with each other. When something else, like the only reason why something big doesn't just come and swoop over is because there are so few of us that nobody gives a shit. But when that's easy enough, something will come and we're all going to be part of it. As consumers, I'm looking forward to it. But as someone in the payment industry, I am saddened about the lack of collaboration, because we could have done a lot of stuff, awesome stuff, and then just push that through the EBA into Europe. Instead, we compete. Even in Finland, the banks compete with each other, which is such a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
So let me just expand on that a little.
Can I comment?
Yeah. Yes, you can comment.
So so you're right, Monika. I mean, there's plenty of examples of banks failing to collaborate, but I still feel it's a bit of a pendulum, right? We had this kind of beautiful era of banks talking together about distributed ledger, blockchain projects, building in all these consortiums. Some of them actually were successful, like we see in Finland with the DIAS network. So, I mean, that seems to be shifting. But now what happened with P27, and there's many other examples as well of failed collaboration projects, it feels like we're coming back to this era of we are competing more than anything else. And it's a shame, really, because the banks like to complain about all this regulatory compliance that they have to do. But then when you go and talk to the regulators, they're saying that, look, guys, I mean, you've been trying to collaborate and build infrastructure together. You can't get it done. So we have to make laws for you to do it. And that's the reason for many of the harmonization and projects from the regulatory perspective, including the digital euro, by the way. So they want to build this common infrastructure that works across the eurozone, and it seems to be a bit redundant, I guess, from a bank's perspective. But the ultimate reason really is the failure of the private sector to collaborate properly. But yeah, I digress, and we.
And a comment there, I would say, like the reason why DIAS worked really nicely, it's because there were no bankers involved. And when I say banker, it's this legacy mindset, because that was something new. So when it was something new and people wanted to get it done, they got it done. Simple as that. And the whole idea was that you need to collaborate. So I agree. It's all about people. So I like the failure of P27 or the Automatia or Luottokunta, all of that. It is egos.
Yep, agreed. And I'm happy to say I was there in the beginning part of DIAS, getting it started on my backside. So it was. I think you're right. It really needs the right people around the table,
yes.
No matter where you are, and then you get it done.
Yeah.
You delved quickly into something there, Villa, which, you know, I'd like to bring up a little bit further, and that's the whole discussion around the digital euro and central bank digital currencies. How is that going to impact Enfuce? Talking about, you know, schemes and rails, how do you see this adoption of the digital euro affecting you, Monika?
I think from our perspective, it is a ledger. I mean, like, it depends on how it will evolve. That is probably something that I would like to be part of connecting to, integrating to, like enabling that usage once it becomes a reality. And I don't want to be the one, but I probably am retired by then. So in theory, I'm probably be part of it, but in practice, probably not. Hoping it would come faster. But I think this is, for me, in the end of the day, the reason why we chose the card rails and the ones we are currently working with is, as I said, it's open loop, then it's Visa, MasterCard, and then closed loop we have, depending with the merchant. So we can also process transactions, as long as they are in understandable, readable formats. What we do is we book them, we clear and settle. That's the name of the game. So yeah, looking forward to that one, when whatever it becomes one day. Maybe coming back to the competitor landscape is that, again, depending on what segment or vertical we are working with, we have different players. So I think one of my biggest challenges is that we do so much that you can't say that Monika Enfuce competes with something, because it really depends. Like if we go into the fleet and fuel industry, and also remembering these are so big stuff that sometimes we compete, sometimes we collaborate. Most likely we do both. So we come up against, or put it like this, I have migrated customers away from, I think I just counted on Friday, 10 different processors. So closed loop side, we have WEX, for example, etc. But and then it's very targeted into a certain industry, but Nets at some point. But on the other hand, we collaborate with Nets because many of our customers have Nets as an acquirer. And then so the issuing side is pretty small in comparison to the whole Nexi group. Then we have CGI and some processing side. We have Treasure, Swan, Marketa, Spread, Paymentology. Really depends on, again, where you are, what you're doing, etc. So
Well, one of the things that Villa and I have discussed in previous episodes and keeps coming up is if we look at the younger demographics, particularly in the US, they're moving more towards account-to-account payments, very much, through apps like mobile pay, etc. One of the questions that keeps coming up is, do we think that this shift towards account-to-account will erode the cards business and the opportunity for cards providers and the cards rail to grow? Do you see the shift to account payments as a threat or something that you will align with?
Yeah, well, my first initial reaction is that I align with, and now I'm being 100% honest, as if I never otherwise wouldn't be, but I don't see a shift to account. Like, let's be honest, like who the fuck does that? Like, let's be really honest. Where does that happen? Everyone keeps talking about it, but I haven't seen it. And what I mean is, like, there are good use cases for it, definitely. But then you come to the real world of real people, real businesses who need to buy stuff, who need to pay for stuff, who need to get paid. When it is about buying and paying, it is very heavily connected to what we call today card rails, whether it be that there is a debit account in a real bank or whether it be a credit line given by someone, etc. Because where the card schemes have succeeded and where the European Banking Authority is trying, but there isn't a body technically to take care of it, it is the whole thing. MasterCard and Visa acts as a central bank. That's what they do. They set out regulations. They make sure that if I buy something with a card that is issued by Nordea, for example, from a shady as fuck Brazilian site, and then I don't get my whatever I bought, I will get refunded because the rules are there. So the acquirers are being mandated to do stuff. They are mandated to know their shit about their merchants, and then the issuer processors are mandated to know their shit about the issuers, etc., etc. So currently, I see the account to account. It's an interesting local scheme. So I would say it will compete more against WIPs and mobile pay and stuff like that already run on the bank rails than actually compete with the card rails. That's how I see it, at least today.
Yeah,
might change. You never know.
Yeah, I really completely agree. If you look at the value chain of card payments versus account-to-account payments, for the account holding institution, i.e. the issuer for the bank, there is no incentive in account-to-account because what you're effectively doing is you're removing the business part of cards, basically saying that this is a free commodity now, so you will make no revenue out of these things. Then from a consumer perspective, all you're getting is money deducted immediately from your account without being protected by the card rules. And as a consumer, by the way, I don't pay anything for the card payments, not directly at least. So for me, they are a fantastic value proposition, not even taking into account the credit card part of the equation where I might get bonuses or cashbacks or anything like that the cards provide. The only party in this that actually will benefit is merchants. And for sure, the merchants are pushing forward with this because they would like to see their card fees go down. And maybe the other part is maybe fintechs that don't have access to or want to replace the card rails in one way or the other, basically undercut the card processing pricing, and then trying to kind of get their own business running in front of that. But yeah, again, I'm a consumer and I happen to work for a bank, so I don't really see the benefit of account to account, except for person to person payments. I think for that it's obvious, but in retail, I don't see it.
No, and let's be again honest. How often do you pay to someone person to person that isn't in your family? Like, let's be honest. So what do you actually need it for? I don't go around owing people money, hopefully, at least I don't remember. So what I do is like the accounts to account that I do, unfortunately, on a daily basis is because I have 4 kids and they cost shitloads of money and they keep bitching about more all the time. But that's the account transfers I keep doing. It's like in the good old days, I don't know if you used to, what was this, Al Bundy, Love and Marriage. That's kind of what I feel like. But today it's not paper money, it's just digital. And I think that's the problem, that if they could have that and understand where they're using it, because it's too easy to just go and blip and blop everywhere. But yeah, but I agree. Like I hope from transferring money between institutions. So I think SEPA Direct and SEPA Instant, but that's so funny again. Like SEPA Instant is coming everywhere. Ooh, SEPA. We have had that in the Nordics, like I don't know, 10 years. So again, if we think about the awesomeness born from here, if we just could collaborate more, like the Diaz is a good example, we could actually be driving change in Europe, but we decide not to, because we decide to focus on competition. So competing at the local league instead of aiming for the Olympics.
Talking about partnerships and collaboration and those sort of things, we are seeing a trend in banking of banks starting to look more at how to take advantage of ecosystems to drive competitive advantage. How does Enfuce look at the ecosystem of partners? And I'm assuming that you're sort of building yourself into ecosystems as much as possible to help to drive your unique value proposition.
Yes, definitely. I think for us, partnerships, it is the key channel for qualified leads. Because as we can solve a problem or problems, the better we can articulate what we can do for a certain ecosystem. We're really trying to be part of that. So we partner up with players like Thought Machine, with Mambu, with a lot of different players that solve certain part of the paying chain, value chains, and then you can have user interfaces, or you can have expense management, or whatever it is. So we try to be there as the processor of a choice for the ones who want to get done. And I agree, Paul, that looking now what is happening finally, thanks to actually the financial, or let's say the downturn, I wouldn't even call it the financial crisis, it is a downturn in the market, is that now when interests are up and money actually costs money, and all these weird places that don't have a, let's say, sustainable business idea don't get funded, now it's the time for the incumbents to regain the market shares that they a little bit lost, or the relevance. And the only way for them to do that, it is to collaborate. Because I think I mentioned it before also, that I don't want to throw Nordea under the bus, because I really like Nordea, but let's throw Nordea under the bus. But I remember back in 2017, I had this Enfuce summit, because why not? And we were 1 year into our journey, and I had someone from Nordea speaking, and they were saying like, yeah, Nordea has, like, now the new strategy is that we are an IT company with a banking license. And I was like, what the fuck? Anyone can be an IT company, but very few can be a bank. So like taking what is really the core and the value, again, I think that there would be much more to do when it comes to collaboration. And of course, we are trying to collaborate with also banks. Like banks are allowed to hold funds, they are allowed to pay interest, they are allowed to do a lot of awesome stuff. But sometimes they also have a tendency to be very narrow-minded. So definitely in different markets, again, in different segments, we're trying to build different type of ecosystems to solve challenges. And we can solve together challenges that actually can change the world for a better, whether it be, you know, inclusion into the payments in ecosystems for refugees, because we're going to unfortunately see an increase also coming years. Just had a phone call this morning with a guy who is in Dubai currently, and he said, like, yeah, it's around 40 degrees here now, and it goes up to 50. I was like, fuck, horrible. So if you're burning now, Ville, think about us. I have like sunscreen 50 fucking in the middle of the winter. Like that's horrible. So we're gonna see an inbound of climate refugees. We can already see an increase in climate tourism. So I think for us, it's really important to come together and make sure that we don't destroy the awesomeness we have here, but help others as well. So transitioning away again from fossil fuel into different type of energy format is also important, because transportations won't end. We will need to transport people and goods going forward. Then how you do it, and again, whatever how you do it, you need to pay for it. So again, payment is a relevant player that should be focused on changing stuff for the better.
Incidentally, I actually used to live in Dubai for 3 years, so I can totally relate to the point about the climate refugees and everything like that. Even I came back to Finland. I enjoy clean air and more cooler climate, I guess. But then the other point on the banks saying that they're IT companies with bank licenses, completely agree. I think maybe the banks need to come out of the closet and say that we are proud to be banks. We are
exactly.
But
yeah, because somewhere when fintechism was born, because I never founded a startup and I never founded a fintech. I had a problem that I wanted to solve, and in order to solve it, I need people because I can't do it alone. So in order to have people, I need to have a company so I can pay and get paid. And that's pretty much, and then the labels have come. And then I think from 2013, 2014 to 2022, somewhere there was this era of fintechism when it went kind of totally overboard. And again, en kaipaa syyllisiä as the unknown soldier writing, but I blame again the VCs here, like injecting money, and also the fact that, and I don't want to be too much doing this ageism thing, but many of the VCs and the partners at VCs, they were young people, and there's nothing wrong with young people. So if you're in the mid 30s, you haven't lived the financial crisis. You haven't lived the dot-com boom and crash. So that's why, history keeps repeating itself, because people tend to forget. And that's what we saw again. So for me, again, I've seen it before, and I'm really happy in this position now, because now it's again back to focus. And as Ville said, now is when banks should come out and it's like, I'm a banker, I'm proud of it.
But I totally agree. I've said repeatedly for the last however many years that any bank that says to me they're an IT company with a banking license, I lose my rag over it. But I always got the feeling that it came from the banks struggling to entice high quality candidates into their IT departments. It was more about almost a branding thing to try and get the hip and trendy senior developers and experts to join the bank, as they were losing more and more people. But maybe that's a misunderstanding from my perspective.
No, I think you're 100% right. And I have a story about that back in, I don't know, 2017, 2018, somewhere before Let's Alive, before COVID and after COVID. Before COVID, I was at some lunch meeting that was curated by AWS, one of our core partners, and they had invited in different banking, IT, whatever persons. And the one that was at that point heading something bigger at OP asked me, Monika, I don't understand. How do you retain your AWS engineers? Because as soon as mine get some certificates, they leave. And I said, because you're so fucking boring. I didn't realize at that point, what I probably understand better now, it is because people up until a certain level, they want to work. They work for money and prestige and all that BS, which is like, it's fine. But when you then want to attract like high talent, and your let's say your business isn't deemed the most sexy like banking is, you need to have a purpose. And I think banks didn't know why they existed, because them existing is so standard or basic that nobody even realized why they exist. Without banks, we would be trading in, what is it, squirrel leather or whatever the fuck it's called in English. But like that's, I think, again, my tip for the banks. If I look at banks, let's say, I wouldn't call it marketing, but branding. Like, who are we? Look at Lunar. Why is Lunar succeeding? It's because they do basic stuff. And now someone's going to call and I'll say, yeah, you can buy from me because they have net. Anyway, so they do basic stuff, but it feels purposeful. And I think that's where the banks should. So I think, Paul, you're right. That's the problem, that they lost their identity. They didn't know. And then when you don't know and you're running some COBOL shit and you don't have a strategy on how to get rid of that and, transform, that's when you lose the people, or no one won't even come and they're like, what the fuck is this? So I think that's a good tip for any banker, anyone identifying as a banker or IT director at the bank. Now is the time for you to make sure the strategy of why your bank exists, what it exists to serve and help, get that crystal clear, so that you can then look at your infrastructure and realize, oh my God, what the fuck? And then start partnering up. And hence, you will start attracting better talent.
Yeah, and I think if the bank is pretending to be something that it's not, i.e. a cool IT company, you might get the people in for a moment, but as soon as they kind of see what's going on, they will leave. So then what did you win? You're not embracing your identity as a company and your culture, and you're getting the wrong kind of people in and out of the door. So I think we need to, again, completely agree. We need to find their identity, embrace what they are, and make sure that the people who do come in know where they're going into, and they are able to accept the environment and the culture. Something that I learned when I relapsed as a banker as well, that it's much easier to go into an environment where you know how things work. You don't have any, the expectations that you have are more realistic, let's put it that way. So you're not looking to change everything overnight too fast, and that's just part of the way this industry works.
So we've gone off at a tangent slightly, but a fantastically interesting discussion, and it will be great to continue on that. But we were here to talk about Enfuce and the journey that you're on, Monika. One of the things that you mentioned earlier on is the fact that you recently got an EMI license in the UK. And I'm wondering, what was the necessity for that? What was the driver behind getting that license?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of awesome companies that want to add a payment function into their offering, but they don't want to become a licensed entity themselves because it's not their core business. What we can really see, especially on the mobility side, the EV charging side, we can see on the big car manufacturers wanting the car to be like the plastic, like what we are used as a plastic, that the car could do shit themselves, like IoT and stuff. But they just like, we build cars, and then we sell cars and whatever. That's our core business. Adding payments with licenses, applying for license wasn't something that they wanted to do. And some of the players that we were collaborating with, or let's say our customers who wanted to have the cards from us had pretty significant challenges with compliance related issues due to them not fixing their compliance streams when it comes to KYC, like know your customer, know your business, anti-money laundering, etc. So again, being born out of Nordics, being headed by two old bankers, I like the compliance. It's a massive USP. So I always talk about people, tech, and process. Tech is the tool, but it's the processes and the people of Enfuce that really, really is in the heart of what we do. And as such, adding an EMI, as you can't passport anymore into UK because of the Brexit shit show, we were then in, and also wanted to have a collaboration with the Financial Conduct Authority, so the equivalent to the Financial Supervisory Authority, and that will, I always said it's a certain type of key into where we take you. So we are able to service a broader variety of customers, whether they be big merchants or car deal, whatever, with that enablement piece.
So next step is global dominance.
It has always been like world domination. That's like you can ask anyone who's known me any matter of time. It is like I want to be the best, because I know Enfuce can be. I think the only thing that I'm frightened of in my life is that something bad would happen to my children. And the only other theoretical thing that I'm scared of is that we will fuck this up, because the market is there. There are like the opportunities are limitless, which of course becomes the challenge, because it's all about focus. So we really want to focus down on being the best in certain verticals, even though we could do much more. But if you try to do too much, you spread yourself too thin, and then you become mediocre, and I hate mediocre. So I'd rather be best than become the GOAT. Like that's my goal.
So as a last sort of question on this, Villa and I have got a love-hate relationship when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and the likes.
Some would say hate, but anyway.
Well, we've got a intriguing relationship to it. From your perspective, Monika, is the sort of potential growth of this world of cryptocurrencies a positive or a negative to Enfuce and the direction you're heading?
Put it like this: for Enfuce, it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with us. We won't touch cryptos and stuff. It's a strategic choice, more from a perspective. We have, for example, the Norwegian Block Exchange, where they do crypto to fiat, and we do the fiat part. But it's also because it's a company in the Nordics. We understand them. We know them. But I think the biggest overall problem we have in the world, like there are a lot of problems, but if I look at more from a payment perspective, it is money laundering, terrorist financing, and human trafficking. And as long as cryptos, you are onboarded and not supervised enough, and people can't go to jail enough, I think that's starting to change. So I am cautiously optimistic of the future of crypto. I for example, myself have some, of course, because I want to stay looking at what the industry is doing. But I am using, for example, CoinMotion myself, because I want to be strongly authenticated. I want to know what's happening and where it's going. And currently there is too much shady shit when it comes to that part of the industry. And as such, until that becomes shaped up, we are not going to touch it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I just want to comment on the crypto thing, and I think exactly what you said, Monika. You're holding on to crypto for reasons that it's a speculation. You're speculating that something's going to happen. However, the narrative that the crypto people want to push is that it's going to revolutionize the financial industry, and it's going to change everything. That would imply that there would be some utility for these cryptos, but no, 99.9% of people are just sitting on their holdings because they're expecting it to do something in the future, maybe. We're into the narrative of crypto now for more than 15 years, and nothing has really happened to any significant scale. Some people have like El Salvador and completely, utterly failed anything relevant. So again, I don't see where it's going.
No meaning. And I think, like, again, let's not confuse blockchain as a technology and security item. And then I would rather have a dialogue, and I'm not competent enough because it's not interesting yet enough. But like, what will quantum computing? What will algorithms come? What will security bring? What could a blockchain mean? And then you come to the next, like, how much energy consumed? What's the benefit? And again, energy consumption is a challenge. What comes next as a big UN SDG topic, it's clean water. You need a lot of water to cooling, etc. So I think if we as a humankind could stop running after short wins, I think that would be amazing, and we could solve a lot of problems. I just drove my car, electric car, what a shit show of car, but let's not go into that. It's an Audi, don't buy one yet. But I think it's sad, and like I was just thinking, like in 100 years from now, what will things look like? Like if we don't start shaping up soon in the next 20, 30 years, it is gonna be massively painful. And that's something that as again, coming back to my biggest fear in life is that something bad will happen to my children. And I'm old enough, because I turn 50 next year, to actually, not yet, but I wouldn't mind having grandchildren. But then looking at these problems, let's try to fix it now, because we were part of making it. So I think it's like it's our duty to fix the shit we actually made.
Some very, very heavy words there, and I agree with you 100%. The future is for us to fix based on everything we've done in the past. But to have us go out on a more happy note, as always, we tend to have a joke in our episodes. Villa does them at the beginning, I do them at the end. So to lighten the mood a little bit, Monika, do you happen to have a joke to share with us and our listeners?
Yes, because I the ones again who know me a bit better, I have this different types of fantasies, but it's probably because of my background. But the question is, does any one of you know how to actually save a banker from drowning?
No idea.
You take your foot off their head.
Oh no!
And these light notes, I thank you for having me, and all the best wishes to all the banker wankers in the Nordics.
Oh, I think we're going to have to put some cautions on this episode. Oh, fantastic, Monika. That was wonderful. Fantastic discussion. We have sort of come to the end of our allotted time here. Before we sort of move on, Monika, is there anything that you really wanted us to have covered that we haven't done that you want to bring up?
No, I think it was a really great episode. I didn't have any expectations. I mean, like in a positive way going in. So I think we really covered a breadth. And so thank you so much for having me, and look forward to hearing comments as if I would care. But anyway, thank you again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Monika, for all of those listeners out there that's now been empowered and feel passionately intrigued in wanting to know more, how can they find out and reach out to you and continue the discussion?
Yeah, I think, first of all, our CMO and marketing team has done an amazing job. So just by going to Enfuce.com, you can really get a good feel of who we are and what we do. But I think easiest is LinkedIn, like connect me through LinkedIn. Don't send emails. I think I have like 65,000 unread emails. So I wouldn't, like, unless you don't want me to read it, send me emails. But otherwise, connect through LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Okay. And Villa, any last comments or perspectives from you?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground here, including ground that we didn't plan to cover. But that's the way these episodes always go, right? So I think it's all good.
It's the way it always goes, yes. And if people want to continue a discussion with you, how can they reach out to you?
On LinkedIn, I'm done trashing X because I don't use it anymore. So this is the last time I'm going to mention that. So again, just say LinkedIn and we should be able to find me there.
Absolutely. And me, I am on LinkedIn. As always, it's my preferred channel. You can probably also find me on Instagram, but I infrequently use it. And as always, you can reach both Villa and I on the Fintech Daydreaming website, fintechdaydreaming.com. This has been another fantastic episode. Like we've said, the sun is shining, the heat is starting to resonate through here in Finland, and we're starting to get into summer holiday moods. Villa and I will be back, though, for another episode in 2 weeks' time. So you still have some time with us before we all disappear off on, well, holidays to lie on the beach and enjoy the sun and whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Maybe it's going for a walk in the forest. Who knows? But until next time, This has been Fintech Daydreaming.
This is Fintech Daydreaming.